The Oklahoma City Police Athletic League event, the Oklahoma City Charity Fight Night, is tonight down at the Chevy Bricktown Events Center. Matt Hughes is one of the hosts. He's a 9-time welterweight world champion of the UFC, alongside this guy, the dapper, the deep booming voice. It's Michael Buffer, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Good to talk to you.
And of course, he's famous for 5 words. Let's get ready to rumble. And sir, does it ever get old when you get in the ring and you look around and you've got a mic, hopefully warmer than this one is right now, as you get ready to say those words? Does it ever get old?
Sometimes it does, especially when you're packing, heading to the airport, have to get there early for security, and take a flight, whether it's from LA to Europe or New York or something like that. You're thinking like, man, this is getting old. But then as a fan, when I get to the event, whether it's usually boxing, many times I've been privileged to do the intros for NFL championship games or NBA games and that sort of thing. As a sports fan, I'm like, wow, this is really great. I'm glad I'm here.
Millions watching around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Can you walk us through it when you're in the ring or at the event? What are you seeing? Because we're seeing you, and we're getting amped up for those famous words. But what are you seeing, and what are you looking for? Is there any sort of, okay, I'm going to wait 5 seconds before I say the next line? Walk us through that moment.
That's hard to say. I mean, when I do my job, I usually wait for the first fighter to get into the ring, and then I'll get in the ring because I know the second guy's going to come out eventually, and I'm ready. I have to wait for a cue from a stage manager because television controls everything, and start the introductions. I usually do my thing as far as let's get ready to rumble. That's before the introductions of the fighters. It started because I wanted something to kill that period where I had to wipe out the electricity in the crowd from the fighter's entrance, which came about because I introduced the venue and the commissioners and the 3 judges and the 4 doctors and that sort of thing. So I want to bring the crowd back and do that moment that you have when you hear, "Gentlemen, start your engines." Well, everybody knows the race is going to start. So when I say, "Let's get ready to rumble," everybody knows I'm going to introduce the stars of the show, the fighters, and then the fight's going to start. So that's pretty much it.
The Police Athletic League here is a fundraiser event tonight. A lot of money will be raised for a good cause. Helps kids from tough neighborhoods with educational and athletic events. And Michael, I guess you probably do a lot of fight nights around the country, and you've probably seen a lot of fighters come from tough neighborhoods. You're from the fighting city of Philadelphia, I think. Perhaps they haven't had the easiest of life.
Yeah. You're talking about kids and young men that are underprivileged. They don't have that break. They didn't go to the better school. They didn't live in the better neighborhood. They didn't have the right sneakers when they went to school to fit in socially. Just all those like little things that can keep a young American from developing the way you want him to be, he and she. And Fight Night gives a lot of kids a chance with the programs that they have for inner city, and Oklahoma certainly is now considered an inner city with a big population. But there's a great sports foundation here in Oklahoma City and in the history of Oklahoma with the Sooners and the Cowboys and everything, and now the Thunder. And I think kids are more. It's a better chance for them to get involved in athletics. That's just really developed, especially over the last 20 years. And the PAL here in Oklahoma City really gives them a chance, and they do it all over the country. So it's a great thing to be involved with.
Tonight's event will feature some boxing matches, but also some mixed martial arts fights. We've seen the growth of MMA and UFC, and boxing perhaps is not quite as popular. Has the growth of MMA, UFC directly hurt boxing, or is boxing kind of just, running its course popularity-wise, and perhaps it's a circular type thing that it'll come back?
No, what's really exciting about mixed martial arts, and especially the UFC, which is synonymous these days, it's developed a real hardcore, loyal fan base out there. And it's very interesting. A lot of fans have come over from professional wrestling because they like the spectacle that UFC has to offer with the grand entrances, and it's a whole different thing from boxing as far as a combat sport. But when you look at, you go on the internet and you look at the websites and you see all the boxing events that are being held every week, and especially every weekend, they're like 100 to 1 compared to MMA events, or especially the UFC, which gets a lot of coverage and is a big spectacular event almost every month now, and a couple times a month. So boxing is alive and thriving, and I work all the time in Europe. When the Klitschko's fights, of course we're down to just Vladimir right now. Vitaly's retired, and they put 50,000 in a soccer stadium. I worked in London 3 times last year, in Scotland a couple times in front of sellout crowds, like at the O2 in London, and packed houses. We have fights in Macau now. Manny Pacquiao just fought there in front of, I think, 18,000 people at the Venetian in Macau. So boxing is alive, and it's even growing globally.
Current pound-for-pound champ Floyd Mayweather is starting to talk retirement. I think he mentioned perhaps next year or the year beyond that. In your opinion, if Floyd retires undefeated, where does that rank him among the all-time fighters, and do you think he can retire undefeated?
Yeah, I think he can retire undefeated. He's really, really that good, and he probably will retire undefeated with a record of 50. I think that's his goal, to be have the Marciano was 49-0, and I'm sure Floyd, without any difficulty, can win those next. I think it'd just be 3 or 4 more fights, and he will be rated among the top 10 best pound-for-pound fighters of all time, right up there on the list. That probably is. At the top, you would have Sugar Ray Robinson and Henry Armstrong and Muhammad Ali in the top 5 or 6, and Archie Moore and a few. And he's going to be in that mix in the top 10 if he retires undefeated.
When it comes to sports announcers, top 10 right here, no question. And what about you in your career? Any plans of retirement?
Well, this year I'm actually going to be 70. And I thought 5 years ago I would be retired by this point. But the work keeps coming, and God willing, I'm still healthy, and I still love what I do. So the phone keeps ringing, and every weekend I seem to be working somewhere. So maybe a couple more years, and then maybe I can retire undefeated also.
Fantastic. The event tonight at the Chevy Bricktown Events Center is the Oklahoma City Charity Fight Night, and this guy, Michael Buffer, will be there. Sir, thanks for your time. It's great to meet you.
Thank you. Good to be here.